Part 26. Kumogakure forced me, and the Third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 255. One piece of information after another intertwined in Obito's mind. He was selected by Madara Uchiha as the executor of the Eye of the Moon plan, but at that time he only had the twin Megatama Sharingan and Chunin strength. This strength is too weak for the Eye of the Moon plan that wants to cause trouble among the 5 major ninja villages. Therefore, it is necessary for Uchiha Madara to awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan. And Lin is Uchiha Madara's victim to achieve this goal. He was able to secretly control Yagura for so many years with the Mangekyo Sharingan. Although Uchiha Madara had his original eyes transplanted to Nagato long ago, with his Sharingan attainments, he might be able to control the third Mizukage for a long time with just a pair of 3 Megatama Sharingan. In this way, everything is clear. Uchiha Madara controlled the third generation of Mizukage and formulated a plan, to capture Nohara Lin, implant the 3 tails, and send him back to Konoha to cause destruction. The obstacle to this plan was his and Lin's teacher, Minato Namikaze. For this reason, Uchiha Madara controlled the third generation of water shadows and sent people to attack the country of fire in multiple directions, forcing Minato Namikaze to rescue everywhere. As a result, Lin was caught and the plan was executed smoothly. In the end, Uchiha Madara used Baizetsu to convey the information about Lin's distress to him, ensuring that he could see the scene of Lin's death. Everything is going smooth. Later, Uchiha Madara also destroyed relevant evidence so that he could not investigate. Uchiha Madara, Obito's voice was like a fierce ghost, and his scarlet eyes suddenly bloomed, the blue Susanoo bloomed, and the tall giant swung his fist towards Uchiha Madara. Cut. Uchiha Madara curled his lips. Obito, with your little strength, save it. For him, the only thing that Tuaki can value him is Kamui's pupil technique. As for the others, fire release. Susanoo. Obito is also qualified to play this in front of him. However, Obito is not bothered at all. Moving, the pupils in his eyes became more and more powerful, the green Susanoo Titan continued to expand, and its attacks became more and more fierce. No more fun. Uchiha Madara frowned, his Rinnegan eyes flashed, and an invisible shadow of the Rhine tomb split out and kicked Obito in the opposite Susanoo. Click. In front of the Rhine tomb clone, Uchiha Obito's Susanoo was as fragile as paper and was easily torn apart. The Rinka clone kicked Obito out with a kick. Puff. Obito vomited blood and flew backwards, feeling ashamed, angry and hateful in his heart. The strength gap between the two sides was still too big. The ordinary kick of the Rinka clone not only tore apart his Susanoo, but also almost killed him, kick him in the waist. If he hadn't transplanted Hashirama's cells, he might have died on the spot. Tisk, that's really boring. Hinata Nariku, who was watching with great interest, shook his head. The strength gap between the two sides is too big. This is a one-sided killing. Seeing Obito struggling to get up, Hinata Nariku flew forward directly, his eyes were indifferent, and he stretched out his hand to break Obito's heart pulse. You. Obito's eyes were full of hatred and confusion, and his breath disappeared quickly. You actually killed him. Uchiha Madara felt confused. You clearly told Obito the truth, but you just killed him like this? Don't get me wrong, I just think it would be boring if Obito was easily killed by you. Hyuga Nariku directly used Obito's own body as a sacrifice to perform the 983 exhibition of Dirty Earth reincarnation technique. But, it would be more interesting if Obito was the immortal body reincarnated by the dirty soil. The death energy of the netherworld invaded, pieces of paper flew, and Obito's still warm body turned into a sacrifice for the reincarnation of the dirty soil. His consciousness returned to clarity. Uchiha Obito. My mind is a little confused. What happened to him before? It seems like that bastard Hinata Naraka killed him without any warning. Why is he still conscious now? Here, it looks like it's still in the divine space. It seems to be the same scene as before. Isn't he dead? Hinata Naraka noticed Obito's doubts and explained with a smile on his face. You are indeed dead, but you were summoned back again by my filthy earth reincarnation. How is it, how does the dirt body feel? Kumogakure forced me, and the Third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 256. Do you have any serious illness? He yelled in a rustic manner. Is this person sick? He killed himself, and then immediately reincarnated himself. He just killed himself because he felt that he was too weak and would be easily killed by Madara Uchiha if he were alive. And then turned into an immortal body of filth. It was so idle. Just to watch him and Uchiha Madara fight to the death, was it worth the trouble? I clearly told you the truth and gave you a chance to get revenge on Uchiha Madara, why do you have such an attitude? Hinata Naraka said jokingly with a smile on his lips. Of course, even if you are the immortal body of Obito, with your strength, you cannot be Uchiha Madara's opponent. So, I have a suggestion here. Uchiha Madara is going to find a strong man hiding in a different time and space in the ninja world, and you have a pupil skill, so you may be able to help in this regard. When you meet that strong man, you may try to use his strength to kill Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara's head was filled with black threads. No, you are plotting against me so openly, and you are not even going to avoid it? It's a bit too much. Seeing Uchiha Madara's expression, Hinata Naraka said indifferently. Anyway, what I told you is the truth. There is indeed a strong man hiding in a different space, and that guy is indeed very strong. Uchiha Madara, if you think you may not be an opponent, or if you don't want to be plotted by me, you can give up. Obito, you don't want to be plotted by me, and you can also give up this opportunity and rely on your three-legged cat strength to get revenge on Uchiha Madara. I made it very clear, the choice is yours. There was a silence in the Kamui space. Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Obito's foreheads were throbbing with veins. This person has a really bad character. He just blatantly used the psychology of the two of them to plot against them. Even if everything was said clearly, and they didn't seem to want to refuse. He's just a clown hiding in the ninja world, so I have nothing to worry about. Uchiha Madara snorted coldly and said, as for Obito, if you want to seek revenge from me, that's up to you, if you have the strength. Uchiha Obito was silent for a long time and cursed loudly, you are really not a good person. So it looks like we've reached an agreement. Hinata Naraka looked happy. If you are about to be beaten to death by that guy who is hiding, you can ask me for help through Flying Thunder God. I won't mind saving your lives then. Unnecessary. Uchiha Madara's expression turned dark and he said coldly. Successfully tricked two people, Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Obito, into helping him find Otsutsuki Ishiki. Hinata Naraka left the Kamui space and found the Third Hokage Onaki. Everyone from Iwagakure village, this is our first meeting. The voice suddenly appeared behind the remaining people in Yanyan village. Onoki was startled, and immediately turned around, on high alert. Seeing the lonely person opposite, Onoki's brain was running quickly, and he quickly confirmed the other person's identity. The fifth Hokage of Konoha, Hinata Naraka. Although the two, Wang Nyohao, have never met, Onoki has seen the portrait of this person who is known as the strongest person in the ninja world today. As for the possibility of someone pretending to be someone, Onoki directly rejected it. To be able to suddenly appear near them without attracting any attention is something ordinary people can do. The Third Hokage Onoki Hinata Naraka nodded, and the corners of his mouth suddenly raised, this should be your last day as a Hokage. And everyone in Iwagakure, are you ready to welcome the new era? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Kumogakure forced me, and the Third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 257. Onoki's heart was ringing with alarm, and he asked cautiously. What do you mean, do you want to destroy our Iwagakure village? Although your excellency is powerful, we in Yinyan village are not people who dare not resist and are slaughtered by others. After the words fell, the few participating Iwagakure ninjas on the side became alert and prepared for battle. Even if they may not be opponents at all, it is absolutely impossible to simply surrender and admit defeat. Not to mention the appearance of the opponent. Seems to be trying to annex their Iwagakure village? How is it possible to accept this? Yet. Hyaga Nariko nodded and said. It seems you haven't understood the situation yet. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand like lightning and tapped Onoki's heart gently. The chakra was directly injected from the acupuncture point on Onoki's heart, shattering the opponent's heart 470 pulses. Onoki didn't have time to react, he only felt his consciousness disappearing quickly. Boom. The body was on the ground. The Iwagakure ninjas next to them were dizzy. Tsuchikage, dead. The strongest person in their Iwagakure village, the Tsuchikage who had the only blood-stained elimination of dust escape in the ninja world, was so easily killed by the opponent. For a moment, these Iwagakure ninjas did not react at all, unable to understand this unexpected reality. Asshole. Die. Lois was the first to react, furiously trying to rush up and fight Hinatan Nariku. He actually killed his father like this, and still wants to make them surrender? They would rather die. Babbage. The other participating IWANN also came to their senses. Come, they are all furious and want to fight to the death with Hyaga Nariku. Noisy. Hyaga Nariku scolded, the power of the reincarnated eyes exploded, and a terrifying pressure swept forward. Buzz. An invisible impact swept across the minds of the Iwagakure ninjas. The whole person's brain went blank, and the brain seemed to be blocked by the mountain was so oppressive that I couldn't move at all. Laugh, Hyaga Nariku smiled disdainfully, do you think you are qualified to fight with me? With his current state, he doesn't need any fancy moves to deal with these ordinary ninjas. Just the coercion and shock of the Byakugan can make them unable to move. Bang. Hinatan Nariku casually snapped his fingers. The reincarnation of the dirty land. Onoki, wake up. There is no need to form seals at all. Using Onoki's corpse as a sacrifice, he performed the art of reincarnation from the dirty earth. The just dead Onoki just regained consciousness. The third Tsuchikage Onoki's mind was at a loss for a long time, and he finally figured out the situation. He looked at the dull Iwagakure ninjas around him, his face darkened. What exactly do you want to do? If you want to wipe our Iwagakure village from the ninja world, just do it directly. Onoki said angrily. At this time, Onoki also realized that in the earth-shattering battle that broke out before, the fifth Hokage in front of him must be one of the parties. And he was probably the winning party. Judging from the fluctuations in the battle he had seen before, the opponent's strength is not to mention erasing the Iwagakure village from the map of the ninja world. I'm afraid they can even erase the Earth Kingdom. All the ninjas in their Earth Kingdom combined may not be able to shake the opponent at all. Tsuchikage seems to have misunderstood me. I'm not a murderous person. Hyaga Nariku said with a chuckle, reaching out and tapping Onoki lightly. Resurrection. The green yang release chakra full of vitality penetrated into Onoki's dirty earth body, and a burst of steam rose. Dong dong. Not long after the interval, Onoki looked at his arms. He felt the beating of his heart again. He felt this is, alive again? Onoki's brain couldn't help but feel dizzy. What kind of power is this? The shock of killing someone easily is not as strong as resurrecting someone easily. Especially when the other party has done all these things, it's such an understatement. Even resurrecting a bug is not that simple, but the other party can easily kill and resurrect his earth shadow. The gap between the two sides is not at all in strength, this is completely between gods and mortals, the natural mode. Kumogakure forced me, and the Third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 258. It seems like the Tsuchikage has figured out the situation. Hinata Naruko said lightly. Onaki was silent for a moment, trying hard to be on guard, but he couldn't do it at all. Be wary of what? What's the point? The opponent can easily kill him and resurrect him again. If you really offend the other party, then what awaits you may be true cruelty. In the hands of the opponent, death is not the end. If you have any plans, please tell me. Onoki simply stopped struggling and chose in his mind, show it off. Let alone resist, they had no room to raise any objections. It's better to be honest, and what the other party said is what it meant. Yes, very sensible. Hyuga Naruko nodded approvingly. As I said just now, a new era is coming. According to Hyuga Naruko's plan, it's time for the one country one village model of the ninja world to end. The Atsutsuki clan in the starry sky is watching with eager eyes, but the ninja world is still engaged in this kind of ninja world that is like playing house with children. Big. Simply ridiculous. From now on, there will no longer be existences like the 5 Kages and daimyos in the ninja world. He will use his absolute strength to rise high in the sky and bring order to the ninja world. The managers of the ninja world are uniformly responsible to him. The future goal of the ninja world is to improve its cutting-edge strength while researching equipment to weaponize chakra and make it available to civilians. Can I ask what you want to do? Onoki frowned. The other party can unify the ninja world, but he is still so obsessed with improving the strength of the ninja world. What is this for? Aren't you afraid that there will be some rising star with the strength to threaten him? Take your eyes out of this petty quarrel in the ninja world. The real threat to the ninja world is in the sky and the stars. Hyuga Naruko said leisurely. Onoki looked up at the sky, thoughtful. Starry sky? Does it mean that there is a more powerful enemy deep in the starry sky? Judging from Hinata Naruko's tone, the war between the ninja world in front of enemies in the starry sky is actually just a small fight. Then, Hinata Naruko briefly talked to Onoki and clarified some plans for the future. Konoha will then dispatch relevant personnel to Iwagakure village to establish new systems and institutions and select new personnel for management. From now on, the era of the 5 Kages and the daimyos is over. All will surrender to the one god. Congratulations, you have successfully bought a ticket to the new world. Hinata Naruko left such a sentence, then disappeared directly and left to the rear. Only then did Lois and the others regain their ability to think. Father, are we really surrendering like this? Huangtu's expression was a little unwilling. Onaki frowned, looked at his son with a bit of hatred, and scolded. Otherwise, what else do you want? Isn't it a pointless death? In fact, if the other party allows us to die simply and simply, it may be a great mercy. Be obedient and don't do unnecessary things. A new era in the ninja world is coming, and our Iwagakure village is not the only one to surrender. Several other villages have the same result. In the face of that godlike power, Onaki believes that no one will be able to think about it. Isn't it good to be alive? Does the other party want to kill them all? Well, let's go back. Onoki sighed, and returned to Iwagakure village with a few scattered Iwagakure ninjas. When he came out, he wanted to recapture the 4-tailed and 5-tailed Jinchuriki that were kidnapped by the Akatsuki organization. As a result, they were killed by the leader of the Akatsuki organization. It was easily crushed, and the Iwagakure elite ninja brought out suffered heavy casualties. Later, something happened in the rear of the Akatsuki organization, and the fighting became more and more intense. Starting from the strange movement coming from the Imegakure village, to the explosions that were as dense as raindrops all over the sky. Talisman. And then to the mythical battle of annihilation. Everything was far beyond his knowledge. I'm probably really old, right? Onaki sighed deeply. Kumogakure forced me, and the Third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 259. Above the Moon. This is where the descendants of Otsutsuki Hamura live. However, up to now, the descendants of Hamura on the moon have withered to the point where only Otsutsuki Tonari is left. And the only one left, Shiran, was born blind. He can only rely on the chakra of the giant reincarnation to control some reincarnation puppets to serve his daily life. The huge and vast lunar Otsutsuki settlement is unusually empty and sparse. There was only the sound of 373 and the occasional movement of the reincarnated eye puppets. In the center of the settlement, a huge stone statue is enshrined. That is the common ancestor of the Otsutsuki lineage on the moon and the Hyuga clan in the ninja world, Otsutsuki Hamura. Back then, after the two brothers Otsutsuki Hage Oromo and Otsutsuki Hamura sealed Kaguya, the latter went to the moon to suppress the heretic demons. After Hamura's death, it was his descendants of Moon Hamura who were responsible for suppressing the heretic demons. And in the realm of Otsutsuki Hamura, after the body completely decayed, he did not die completely, but instead existed in the form of a spirit body. Thousands of years passed by, and Otsutsuki Hamura lodged his spirit body in a huge stone statue after his death. He never interfered in the various disputes on the moon and in the ninja world. This day, another spirit invaded the interior of the huge stone statue. Brother Otsutsuki Hamura, who woke up from his deep sleep, was a little confused. After sealing his mother, the two brothers had not seen each other for 1,000 years. Hamura, great changes have taken place in the ninja world. Hamura Otsutsuki, who just came from the underworld, also known as the Sage of Six Paths, stretched out his hand and flicked out a memory light ball. Otsutsuki Hamura absorbed the memory light ball and sorted out the information in his mind. Is it true that one of the descendants of the lineage I left behind in the ninja world has awakened the reincarnation I and plans to unify the ninja world? The immortal of Six Paths looked a little solemn, nodded and said, "It's not just as simple as awakening the Tsenjikangan. Your descendant has now reached the realm of his mother, and has completely surpassed us. Although he is deep in the underworld, the Sage of Six Paths is also paying attention to the trends in the ninja world from time to time. Especially the previous news about Hyuga Nariku being promoted to the blood successor snare. I am afraid that it has spread to the depths of the starry sky. What was my mother's state back then?" Otsutsuki Hamura's expression was a little moved. The body is immortal, the soul is immortal. Immortality, the blood trail. This is a state that neither he nor his brother had reached back then, and it was actually reached by one of his descendants. "What does brother mean?" Otsutsuki Hamura was silent for a moment and asked. "He plans to unify the ninja world." Did my brother interrupt and intervene? "That's not what I meant. However, I do worry that if he takes the same path as his mother in the future, the ninja world will usher in a new catastrophe," the immortal of Six Paths said with a solemn expression. "The descendants of Indra and Asura of this generation have not grown up yet. Moreover, even if they have grown up, they may not be Hinata Nariku's opponent at all. In fact, according to the immortal of Six Paths, if you wanted to compete with Hyuga Nariku, I'm afraid we need to wait until this generation of Indra and Asura chakra inheritors grow up, and then he and Hamura take action together. Then there will be room to compete. There is only room to compete. I dare not you can beat 1.8 and win. In my opinion, we should try our best to leave the future of the ninja world to future generations." Otsutsuki Hamura said slowly, "It is no longer our time. It is up to future generations to decide how the ninja world should go in the future." After hearing this, the immortal of Six Paths was about to retort a few words when he suddenly felt a wave of space. It seemed that someone was crossing space and heading to the moon. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Kumogakure forced me, and the Third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 260. Are there no people on the moon anymore? Hyaga Naraka crossed the space passage and went straight to the moon. On the one hand, he arranged for Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Obito to find Itsutsuki Ishiki. On the other hand, he convinced the entire ninja world and sent Konoha ninjas to re-establish the system for the entire ninja world. After that, Hyaga Naraka came to the moon and personally solved the two problems here. The reincarnation I swept across the moon, searching for chakra reactions everywhere. The most powerful chakra reaction was on the moon. In the center of the Itsutsuki settlement. It should be the giant reincarnation eye of the descendants of Hamura on the moon. Apart from that, there is only one living chakra reaction left. 14 directly tore the space apart and moved towards the sense the location passes through. Itsutsuki Tonari, right. Hyaga Naraka's figure suddenly appeared. Itsutsuki Tonari, who was accustomed to silence, was shocked and quickly controlled the puppet and prepared for defense. Who are you? No. You are. Although Tonari was born blind, Tao was able to see with the help of the reincarnated eye puppet. Seeing Hyaga Naraka's light blue snowflake-like eyes opposite him, Tonari was stunned. Is this the reincarnation eye? Who is this person opposite? Why does he have the reincarnation eye? Have his ancestors appeared? I am from the Hyaga clan from the ninja world. As for my eyes, as you can see, they are the Tensagen. Hyaga Naraka said casually and walked straight forward. Stop. Tonari tensed up, controlling the reincarnation puppet, and planned to take action. Be honest. Hyaga Naraka Tensagen's pressure suddenly erupted, instantly scattering all the puppets. Opposite Itsutsuki Tonari was also confused and lost control of his body. Tonari only felt a warm chakra pouring into his eyes, with a kind of itching feeling. The eye sockets gradually became full. I saw light. My eyes regained their clarity. You helped me restore my eyes? Shiren asked blankly. Just a little effort, Hyaga Naraka wrote lightly. You have a good talent. You have recovered your Byakugan. Coupled with your own Itsutsuki chakra, you may be able to awaken the reincarnated eye. No, why do you want to help me? Tonari's little face turned red. When his parents were still alive when he was young, he was taught that the ninja world created by the Sage of Six Paths had become corrupt, and he needed to make corrections at the appropriate time. In Tonari's mind, people in the ninja world are basically treated as inferior creatures, even if the other party is the Hyaga clan and a descendant of Hamura. But now, because of the other party's casual help, the white eyes that were born blind were restored. And after the Byakugan recovered, Tonari could clearly see the terrifying amount of chakra of the other party. Even a massive amount of chakra seems inadequate. In Tonari's Byakugan vision, the opponent's chakra was so strong that it was as strong as the sun, trying to burn him to death. Tonari even felt that even if he faced the giant reincarnationan, he would not be as exaggerated as he felt now. Is the opponent's chakra level still at 273 of the giant reincarnationan? This is too exaggerated. I said, your talent is good and worth passing on. Hyaga Naraka glanced at Tonari, who looked like a young boy for a year, and said, although there may be some brain problems due to your childhood education, at least it can be corrected. If you are willing, you can live in the ninja world in the future, and then you can intermarry with the Hyaga clan and pass on the lineage on the moon. Shiren's face turned red. Marriage, inheriting bloodline, these contents were a bit ahead of his age, but Tonari did have some desires. Living alone on the moon is too lonely and boring. I can only peek into the ninja world through the giant reincarnation eye every day for fun. Kumogakure forced me, and the Third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 261. But Shiren was still a little hesitant. Our Otsutsuki lineage on the moon needs to abide by the instructions of our ancestors, monitor the ninja world created by the Sage of Six Paths, and make corrections when necessary. Having said that, Tonari's belief is not very firm. After all, Tonari is only 10 years old now. Even though his parents educated him since childhood, at Tonari's current age, his belief can still change quickly. At least now, Tonari was shaken by the prospect of living in the ninja world described by Hyuga Nariku. If he sticks to the instructions of his ancestors, it means that he will live alone on the moon in the future. That's too boring. Hinata Nariku sneered and said. Let's not talk about whether there is any problem with the teachings of your ancestors. Let's just say that you are the only descendant of Otsutsuki on the moon. After you die, how do you plan to continue to uphold your legacy and rely on those puppets? The whole family is about to disappear completely. Why are you leaving it here to deal with the ancestral teachings? Let's multiply the family first, at least don't let the descendants of Ikihamura on the moon cut off the inheritance. Shiren opened his mouth, not knowing how to refute. As for Otsutsuki Hamura's legacy, you may have some misunderstandings about this, but let him clarify it to you personally. With that said, Hinata Nariku grabbed Tonari's shoulders, stepped out, and the next second appeared at the Hamura stone statue in front of the central temple. This. Shiren felt that his mind froze, and the scene in front of him changed. Just now, it seemed that I had crossed space. You two, after eavesdropping for so long, it's time to come out and have a chat, right? Hyuga Nariku said, staring at the tall stone statue in front of him. When he just landed on the moon, he had already discovered that there were two spiritual bodies in this huge stone statue. Although they were only spiritual bodies, the quality of chakra was extremely high. High, far exceeding Uchiha Madara's chakra level. In the ninja world, the two brothers who can have this level of chakra should be the two brothers of Six Paths Sage. The spirit body of Hamura Otsutsuki is normal on the moon, which makes Hinata Nariku a little bit surprisingly. The immortal of Six Paths actually came to the moon. Buzz. Two illusory spiritual bodies emerged from the forehead of the Hamura stone statue. Both of them were dressed in white immortal robes, one had a purple samsara eye, and the other had light blue reincarnation eye. First, ancestor. Shiren was dumbfounded. Looking at one of the illusory spirits, this person's appearance was exactly the same as the stone statue that his family had always enshrined. Could this be their ancestors? The ancestors are still alive? Hello, Shiren, my last descendant on the moon. Otsutsuki Hamura slowly opened his mouth and said. My brother and I have heard your conversation just now. Regarding the legacy I left behind, as Hyuga Nariku said, there are some misunderstandings. Concerning the last words of Otsutsuki Hamura, the Otsutsuki clan and branch families on the moon have different understandings. The clan family believes that their mission is to guard the heretic demons, while the branch family believes that their mission is to monitor the ninja world created by Six Paths Sage, and to correct when the ninja world went astray. Later, the conflict between the main family and the branch family intensified. A large number of branch family Otsutsuki sacrificed their own Byakugan to create the giant reincarnation eye, which successfully destroyed all the main family Otsutsuki. From my perspective, the descendants of the moon do not need to interfere with what is happening in the ninja world. They only need to help when the ninja world is facing a crisis of extinction. Otsutsuki U, Zhao, village said. It's actually like this, Tonari felt disappointed. Did they misunderstand the mission of their ancestors? Hinata Nariku said. Not only that, but according to my guess, the giant reincarnated eye that your ninjas sacrificed may have terrible side effects. After each of your clan members dies, his pupil power will be withdrawn by the giant reincarnation eye, causing the giant reincarnation eye to continue to grow, and correspondingly, the size of your clan will become smaller and smaller, until now, only one for yourself. Tsuren's face turned pale. Kumogakure forced me, and the Third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 262. Go and live in the ninja world. You don't need to bear those heavy burdens now. Otsutsuki Hamura stared into Tonari's eyes and said. With his eyesight, he can naturally see Tonari's potential. Originally he only had Otsutsuki's chakra, but his eyes were congenitally blind. Now after being restored to the Byakugan by Hyuga, Tonari can people already have the possibility of opening the reincarnation eye. Even Tonari's eyes have begun to transform now. With Tonari's talent, the bloodline will be passed down, so that strong men can appear in every generation of the ninja world. Safety is guaranteed. As of 493 now, at least there is Hyuga who can protect the safety of the ninja world. I will absorb the giant reincarnation eye, and you no longer need to worry about it unconsciously absorbing the Byakugan power. Hyuga turned his head and looked at the giant golden reincarnation eye deep in the temple and said. The sage of six paths beside him frowned slightly. Junior, what are you going to do? With your strength, you shouldn't need to absorb the giant reincarnation eye anymore, right? Hyuga strength has reached the level of his mother's peak. Why is he still planning to absorb the giant reincarnation eye? Does he plan to continue to increase his strength? This continuous pursuit of higher strength and more chakra makes him can't help but recalling his mother's actions back then. Hinata glanced at him, paused for a moment, and said with a sneer. You should know better than me what Kaguya did back then, right? Even though she has achieved the immortality of the blood successor, she is still trying to use the infinite Tsukuyomi to absorb chakra. She has always been afraid of something. Six Paths Immortal nodded slowly and said. Gamamaru told me that my mother fell from the sky and was not a native of the ninja world. However, where my mother came from, she never told us. He really can't understand who his mother is afraid of with her immortality. The great Toad Immortal only knew what happened 1,000 years ago, Hyuga said slowly. As for the origin of Kaguya, the sacred tree is also involved. In fact, the sacred tree had appeared much earlier, taking root in the land of the ninja world and continuously absorbing the natural energy of the ninja world. Until 1,000 years ago, Izhiki and Kaguya came to the ninja world together. This time the purpose of coming here is to harvest the fruits from the sacred tree and replant a new sacred tree. Planting the sacred tree requires two conditions, the 10 tails, and an Otsutsuki tribesman as a sacrifice. Kaguya was the sacrifice that was prepared. As a result, Kaguya, unwilling to accept her fate, sneaked into Otsutsuki Ishiki, ate the fruit of the sacred tree herself, and achieved the blood succession snare. She also sacrificed half of Otsutsuki Ishiki's body to the 10 tails to plant a new sacred tree. After that, there is the story of the birth of the Six Path Sage brothers, and under the guidance of Gamamaru, they discovered the truth and rebelled against Kaguya. Otsutsuki One style, the Sage of Six Paths frowned and thought, I occasionally find a powerful life form in the ninja world. It has been lurking in the ninja world for thousands of years. Is that the Otsutsuki Ishiki you are talking about? This doesn't make sense. From the perspective of the Sage of Six Paths, although the strength of Otsutsuki Ishiki is very strong, it is simply not comparable to the realm of his mother. Is such a person actually the existence that my mother is afraid of? It is even said that if he and Hamura join forces, they may be able to eliminate each other. It's just that because the opponent hides in a different space most of the time, he has never been able to capture the opponent's specific location. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Kumogakure forced me, and the Third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 263. Etsutsuki's Ishiki was attacked by Kagaya and almost killed the Ten Tails. Later, he used the methods of the Etsutsuki clan to burn his information into the body of a passing monk and stayed there ever since. He has been trying to find a suitable host body for so many years to regain his peak strength after reincarnation, but he has never been able to find it. Hyuga Naruko said slowly. Etsutsuki Ishiki is currently residing in the body of a monk named Jisien, but if he is in crisis, he can also use this body to be reincarnated, and his strength will skyrocket by then. What's more, even if it's just with the strength of Cien's host body, the strength of Etsutsuki Ishiki has far exceeded the ordinary Tong's 6th level. Also, what Kagaya is afraid of is not just Etsutsuki Ishiki alone, but more Etsutsuki. Etsutsuki Ishiki has stayed in the ninja world and has not returned. Sooner or later, more Etsutsuki clan members will come to investigate, then, Hyuga Naruko said with a sneer. To put it bluntly, Kagaya's original fear was not unfounded. The security of the ninja world for thousands of years is not permanent, it is just an accident. This accident will end sooner or later. By then, what will the ninja world face? In the crisis of complete destruction, this planet will be sucked dry by the sacred tree and become a Death Star. The expressions of the two brothers, Six Paths Sage, became extremely serious. This is the first time they know these things. Although they also knew what their mother was afraid of, they never had a deep understanding of what their mother was afraid of. The immortal of Six Paths took a deep breath and said, "Junior, how do you know these things?" Obviously he is just a young ninja junior, but how come he has a level and strength that rivals his mother's, and he also knows the truth that neither of them knows? You don't need to know this. In short, there is no need for me to lie to you. Hyuga Naruko shook his head and said, the future of the ninja world is very dangerous. We need strong people, at least 6-level strong people, to be able to fight against the Etsutsuki clan. The immortal of Six Paths opened his mouth, but didn't know what to say. He had been worried before, feeling that Hinata Naruko was too obsessed with improving his strength, and felt that this might lead to the same path as his mother. But now that Hinata Naruko said these words, he found that he had no reason to stop the opponent from improving his strength. The path you chose was completely wrong. Looking at the Six Paths Sage, Hinata Naruko said without mercy. Distribute chakra to everyone, but the talent gap between people is huge. Most people will be thankful if they can master one attribute ninjutsu in their lifetime. No matter how many people there are, what help will it bring to the future crisis of the ninja world? Giving them chakra is just a waste. What's more, this method completely binds the use of chakra to the human body, which is too backward. According to Hyuga Naruko's philosophy, people with ordinary talents should not take the path of ninjas at all. Isn't he cool with scientific ninja tools? If you are not bound to a ninja, you can easily use. This is the way out for the future of the ninja world. As for facing the existential crisis of the ninja world, this is something that only a very few talented people are qualified to consider. If you don't even have the strength of a shadow level, you still dare to compete with Etsutsuki? In fact, even a strong person of the first level of the 5 shadows can almost punch one in front of Etsutsuki. You must at least have Super Cage level strength to have a chance to touch Etsutsuki, but only once. Touch. Only with the strength of the 6 paths can one be able to shoulder the heavy responsibility of guarding the survival of the ninja world. Kumogakure forced me, and the Third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 264. The immortal of 6 paths stopped talking. He wanted to tell Hinata Naruko that you are a bit too extreme. It can even be said that Hyuga Naruko's ideas are more radical than his eldest son Indra. At the beginning, Indra was just more inclined to believe in his own power rather than the power of the connection between people. But Indra never said that those who are not talented should be deprived of their right to be ninjas. However, This is what Hyuga Naruko thinks. But 940. Combined with the information Hyuga Naruko told him about the Otsutsuki clan, the Sage of Six Paths really hesitated. If there are a large number of terrifying strong men in the starry sky who are as powerful as his mother, and if these strong men have malicious intentions towards the ninja world, perhaps Hinata Naruko's idea also makes sense. Facing those strong men, what the ninja world needs more are 6-level or even higher level strong men who can compete with each other, rather than ordinary ninjas who can only use one attribute ninjutsu in their lifetime. However, Hinata Naruko's idea was so beyond the ideas of the Sage of Six Paths that he could not accept it for a while. Hinata Naruko looked at the hesitant look of the Sage of Six Paths and directly applied the strong medicine. In fact, in my opinion, it can even be done more radically. Those who are not talented as ninjas, it's not that they shouldn't be ninjas, it's that they shouldn't have chakra at all. It was a complete waste when you distributed chakra indiscriminately. In my opinion, if necessary, perhaps an infinite Tsukuyomi could be launched to collect chakra back from those with poor ninja talent. Those people who have exhausted the strength of the Chunin, what's the use of their chakra control? It's impossible for the Otsutsukis to even look at them. These people have chakra, which only makes their strength far beyond that of ordinary people. It has greater destructive power on the ordinary society of the ninja world. But such people are the majority in the entire ninja world. There are more than 100,000 ninjas in the ninja world, and only 1 or 2,000 ninjas at the Jounin level can survive, and the rest are these little shrimps. For such people, simply depriving them of their chakra is not too much in Hinata Naruko's opinion. The Immortal of Six Paths was startled. Activate unlimited monthly reading? This is even more extreme. Let's talk about your previous thoughts. If the situation is really what you said, the ninja world does need more strong people, and I will not stop you from pursuing greater strength. Sage of Six Paths said with a bitter smile. Hinata Naruko sneered. It's like you can stop it if you want. Next, I will devour the giant Tensagen and the 10 tails, and then try to release Kaguya. Hyuga Naruko continued to say things that were not surprising and would not stop until he died. Immortal Six Paths felt like he was numb. What do you want to do again? Can't you just improve your own strength? Release your mother. What will you do if you can't control her anymore? For more detailed information about the Otsutsuki clan, I need to know through Kaguya. As for the issue of losing control after releasing Kaguya, don't worry about this. If I swallow the 10 tails in advance, Kaguya will be in extremely bad condition even if she is released. Even if you two could seal Kaguya back then, I would have no problem. Hyuga Naruko said slowly. The Six Path Sage and Otsutsuki Hamura looked at each other and looked at each other. Are their brothers despised by a junior in 5.9? However, they have to admit that Hyuga Naruko is indeed very strong at the moment. It has completely surpassed the realm of the two of them back then. What's more, Hinata Naruko's strength has improved little by little. There is no problem like her mother who has a powerful chakra but cannot exert her full strength. In this case, in addition, the 10 tails has been dealt with in advance, so even if the mother is released from the seal, she should be able to control it, right?